What's going on, guys? And gals, for that matter. I was thinking the other day, maybe I should stop saying "what's up, guys," or "how's it going, guys," or something guys to start my video, because there might be girls that watch this. Ooh, I look at the demographics and it's like less than 3% of girls watch my videos as a whole. So I guess it's safe to assume that, not too many females are watching underused weapons videos, but you never know. You never know. So maybe I should change it up. But yeah, what's going on, guys and gals, in the works? And I always feel that constant need to introduce myself, even though we are, 30 episodes in to Underused Weapons. We're already in Season 3. So you'd think that you guys would know who I am by now, but I like to remain consistent. Well, we're doing a weapon today, and if you've been following the new season of Underused Weapons, you know that we've been mixing things up quite a bit. The first episode of Season 3, we actually did the frag rounds. After that, we did the boat, the rigid hull inflatable boat, as it's called. After that, we did, I think this was last week, we did the infrared scope. So we've done all sorts of weird gadgets, but I wanted to get back to a gun today, and we're doing the A-91. And we hadn't done a gun in Season 3 yet, and this is one of the weapons that I hadn't done before, but I wanted to do it, because you don't see a ton of people use this. Now, of course, I'm going to get in the comments that guy who says, "Oh, I use this all the time. I see this weapon all the time." But in truth, it's not a very highly used weapon. I mean, we got to admit that. You don't see a lot of people running around with the A-91 because there's a lot of advantages. And we're going to fast forward into the metro here. I got killed by a BIPOC guy on the right side, the typical routine. But the A-91 is a very strange weapon, and it's one I've always wanted to look at, and I used to love it. Before Close Quarters DLC, it was tied with the M4 for being the fastest fire rate engineered choice, and I loved it. I actually liked it because I do like bullpup weapons. They're some of my favorites. You get the hip fire bonus. You guys know that. We've preached this on my channel for months and months and months. Bullpup weapons get a hip fire bonus, and that's pretty important. If you're in close quarter scenarios, the A-91 can actually beat things like the M16, the M416 from the hip in close quarter scenarios because they have similar fire rates, but this gets a substantial bonus. Now, you notice that I'm using a laser sight with this, and I'm using the foregrip. Now, normally you'd say, "Jake, don't use the foregrip, it'll kill your accuracy," but this is one of those weapons with a lot of side-to-side recoil, so I find that the foregrip is a must because it has 0.5 to the right and left. So foregrip definitely helps you in scenarios where people are close to medium range. I try to stay away from long range targets with this particular weapon just because it can get messy. And the laser sight, basically, we all know what that does. It's going to exemplify that bonus you get from the hip. So this is a pretty good hip fire machine, and I used to love it. In fact, if you watch some of my old showdowns, you'll notice that I used to use the A-91 a lot. In fact, when we did the M4 versus the A-91, I actually picked this, and everyone was like, "What? Are you on crack? Why would you pick the A-91?" But I liked it. I liked it back in the day. Then all the new weapons came out, and this kind of became obsolete. Because now if you want to use a bullpup engineer fast fire rate weapon, you've got the MTAR. If you don't want to use a fast fire rate bullpup weapon, you've got the ACWR. So there's a lot of new choices out there, and it kind of made this weapon obsolete, and the few amount of people that did use it seem to use it even less now. So it's really, really, really underused now, at least in my eyes, because I hadn't played Battlefield in a while, and you notice that I may not be as accurate as I normally am just because I was a little bit rusty. But if you think about it, this is a very hard weapon to control, and a lot of people don't understand why it's so hard to control. And the reasoning behind it is that it does have a lot of initial recoil. It has a 3 times multiplier for initial recoil, which is on par with weapons like the AEK and the F2000. And if you really sat down and looked at which weapons have the higher first shot, multiplier, it would only really be the fast fire rate kind of close quarters type weapons are the ones that get that. You would think it would be the LMGs, because when I was sitting down and looking at all that stats, I was trying to compare this to the LMGs just to see what the LMGs had, the belt feds that is, and it wasn't really similar. Theirs are not that much. I think a lot of the initial recoil kind of magnifies a lot of the belt feds that have the higher upward recoil, whereas this is more of a side-to-side recoil. So it is a problem. It is really difficult to control, even though its cone of fire is on par with all the other engineer weapons. I think while aiming down sights standing, it's like 0.4, which is pretty pretty, normal across the board for those weapons. I mean, if you go in and look at the nitty-gritty stats, but I'm not always a stat whore. I'm not always someone who's all about the stats. I like to know how it performs, in the field, doing some field tests, which is what I'm showing you guys here. So maps like Metro, maps like Bazaar, the close quarters maps, this can be really effective. Now, granted, we do have the MTAR out there, which has a similar reload time, faster fire rate, but it does have more spread. I mean, that is one disadvantage to the MTAR. So I can see why people don't use the A-91. I mean, the reload on this thing is 3.3 while empty, and that's pretty slow. So there's really a lot of good choices out there, and we're going to fast forward into some close quarters here so you can kind of get an idea of just how versatile this weapon can be. Now, like I said, I am using foregrip to counteract that side-to-side recoil, but a good combo with this could be heavy barrel, could be foregrip with heavy barrel. It's really up to you guys. I mean, laser sight's not a must. I like it just because it does increase the accuracy, and I tend to hip fire this thing quite a bit because it is kind of tricky to control. So let me know, underused or not, A-91, and what are your guys' thoughts on this particular weapon? Because like I said, I don't see it all too often. I'm not going to say it's never used, but it is quite underused in terms of what weapons we normally see out there. So if you got any suggestions, though, for the next underused weapons, I'm always open. I'm always open to suggestions because this is a pretty fun series for me to do because we get to look at some of the things that not everybody uses out there. I said I was going to do claymores. A lot of people didn't want me to do that, so don't suggest claymores. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode with the A-91. I will see you guys next time. Peace.